My whole month went in that. I was not lucky. I could not find anything. By God's grace, just a day before I went, and his job offer was taken back. It was rescinded because by then it was already too late and I was already in the process of applying. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of College Junior Student Connect. My name is Sheikh Noor Kaaba, and today in this episode I'll be sharing my experience and my journey of applying and pursuing my master's in Netherlands. I studied in the oldest and one of the most prestigious universities in Europe and the world, which is Leiden University. I pursued my advanced Masters of Laws in European and International Human Rights Law. It was a one-year program. I joined in 2017 and I graduated in 2018. You might be wondering now what is advanced masters, and don't worry, I'll answer this question because whenever I speak to anyone and I tell them about my course, and then the first question is, what is an advanced masters? How does it differ from a regular masters? As the name goes, advanced masters, it's more advanced than a regular masters. It's more intense, it's a little more rigorous. You have to study a lot, you're given a lot of reading material, a lot of assignments in comparison to a regular masters. And we are warned about this fact, in our first orientation lecture. So our dean and the professors, they warned us about this fact that, do not compare yourself with the other your friends who are pursuing the masters, the regular masters, and you have to work very hard and everything. And that, I won't lie, that kind of scared me a bit, and I was thinking, should I shift to a regular masters? But at the end it was very fulfilling. It was difficult, it was rigorous, I won't lie. When I was applying and when I was shortlisting the courses, I always wanted to do human rights law. So when I came across Leiden University and I saw they were providing human rights law, but in this branch of advanced masters, so I thought, I knew that it would be more difficult, but I thought, since I'm going abroad, I'm going there to study, and you should get the best value for money, and I was like, why not? And this advanced masters course is a concept, it's a program which is very unique to Dutch universities, and it's known across Europe. All European universities recognize this course all over the world. This course is recognized, but it's a concept, which is a program which is very particular to, unique to Dutch universities. So before I begin, I would like to tell all of you watching this video that since I pursued my masters abroad, this video will focus primarily on studying in Netherlands, but anyone who wants to pursue their studies abroad will definitely benefit from this video. So let me begin. Why did I choose Netherlands? You must be wondering. Like many Indian students, at least when I was growing up, my father was always talking about studying in the UK. We all do have this affinity, this love towards UK, many of us, if not all. So I had always decided about studying in the UK, and when I came during my bachelor's, I was pretty sure that I would want to pursue my masters abroad. UK was my first option. So I had applied to universities in UK, and then I came across universities in Netherlands. What most of us do is, what I did at least, was when I was shortlisting the universities and the courses and everything, I always referred to the rankings for that particular year, or at least for the last 2-3 years. For yours, not the university ranking, but the university ranking by specialization. So I went, obviously, since I was doing law, I chose the best law schools in the world. So I refer to the QS university rankings and the Times Higher Education ranking. So in that very particular year, then I saw Leiden University was 16th, if I'm not wrong. It was ranked 16th according to QS or Times. It was in the top 20 for both QS and Times, and which was placed above King's and King's College London. So then I thought, why not try for this university too? And when I checked the prices, the course tuition fees, living expenses, it was considerably less than UK. I would say it was around 30 to 40% less than, not 40, 30% less than what I would be spending in UK. But I did apply. I applied to universities in UK. I applied to Leiden University, but my main focus was either UK, or if I had to study somewhere else, it would be Leiden. So I applied, I got accepted to universities in UK and also to Leiden, thankfully. And so basically, my process mainly started, since I was a kid, I always knew I wanted to study abroad, but it was, and I always kept it in mind, the requirements of studying abroad. Always do remember, when you want to study abroad, your marks are important, your grades are important, but your grades are not everything that they look at. The grades are the threshold for you to, for them to look at your application. They would look at your grades. You need to have decent grades, because if you're applying for one of the top universities in the world, or any university for that matter, even in India, they would, where they look at grades do matter. So grades are a threshold, but with all universities abroad, they look at our SOP, they look at our CV, what else is there in our CV apart from our academics. So do keep in mind that grades do matter. I don't know how much percentage it differs from university to university, we'll never know about that. Grades do matter, but also your extracurricular, what all have you done, if you have done anything related to your course, that does matter. So I always had this in mind that I have to get good grades. So even during my college, during my bachelor's, I made it a point to work hard and to get good grades. Usually it's like 60 to 70% above is considered decent. Above 80, or any grade above 8.0 or 7.0 is considered a very good grade. Even abroad, they do know that it's not easy to score 100 percentile or 90 percentile in your bachelor's. They do know that. But apart from that, they also look at your extracurriculars. For example, I am from a law background, so they would look at the kind of internships that I have done. If I have published any papers, we have this thing called moot court competitions. They look at various things. But what I have figured out is, more than internships, universities abroad look at the kind of, if you have published any papers, research papers in any reputed journal. So that does matter a lot. I would say one paper is equivalent to one internship, if not two. If you watch any video which talks about preparing your CV for going abroad, depends from course to course. Since I'm from a legal background, writing papers and applying, when you apply for universities, if you want to go into the academic line, the research line, that applies, this is across all disciplines. If you want to go into the research line, into the academic line, or if you want to get accepted to a good university, they would see your papers. They would see if you have published any papers, if you have published any research papers. So that does count more than doing XYZ internships. Number of internships do matter, it is helpful, but do try. If you are pursuing a 3-year LLB course in India, or you're pursuing a 5-year BA LLB course, that's an ample amount of time. Even if you can publish one paper, trust me, it would count a lot. I made that mistake. I was focusing on internships and my academics, and I did not end up writing papers. And every video that when I used to go to apply, and some certain universities, I had also applied for Canada. And so I remember in one of the videos I watched, they had put up a video, what should you put on your CV, what matters actually, what do the admissions committee look at. So they said, it doesn't matter how many conferences you have attended or how many seminars you have attended. What matters the most for us is the number of papers you have written. And that kind of but that by then it was already too late, and I was already in the process of applying. So do keep in mind, it's very important to write papers. Secondly, the application process, when does it start from? Every university has different timings, deadlines for the application deadlines. So you have to start looking at it, like if you want to join, like say you want to join this September 2022. So you have to start the process from 2021 September itself. Minimum. Some universities also have their deadlines. If you want to join in September 2021, the deadlines would be in November 2021, December 2021. There are universities like that, So you should start looking at it like, at least start preparing from, if not one year is minimum. If more than 1 year, you have to start preparing on it, or else you'll miss out on many universities like that. If some university you want to apply to, for example, I would tell you, I remember I wanted to apply to National University of Singapore. Their deadline was in November. I missed out on that. I wanted to apply to LSE. LSE does not give any deadline. They say it's rolling applications, and as soon as the seats are filled, we will stop the application process. So I wanted to apply for masters in LSE. LSE deadline ended in Feb or Jan, if I'm not wrong. So Cambridge, their applications deadlines are in November. Oxford, their application deadlines are in January. So do keep in mind, all universities have different deadlines, but most of the universities, the usual deadline if you want to join in fall, that is in August or September or October, their deadlines are usually by end of March or end of April. You'll see most of the European universities, including the UK universities, their deadlines would be ending by that time. Then how did I come across Leiden? As I said, I looked at the rankings, and then many students and another reason was that I saw that during that time in 2017, many of my friends had already since I was pursuing law 5-year course, most of my friends who were doing studying commerce or science, they had already gone to UK, pursued their masters, and had to come back, and they told me it was very difficult to find a job. And during that time, during 2016, 17, 18, UK was not very welcoming, in the sense that if anyone employs you out there, they have to sponsor your visa, which is very expensive. It was very expensive for the employers. There was, from a personal experience, one of my friend's brother, he pursued his engineering, his bachelor's in engineering in UK. He had gotten a job after his bachelor's, and his job offer was taken back. It was rescinded because the new laws had kicked in where his employer had to sponsor his visa, and because of that his offer was cancelled. So he had to come back to India. So keeping that in mind, I had that thought always in mind, despite wanting always to study in UK, my father also really wanting me to study in UK. I did not feel, I always wanted to come back to India. I always had that in mind that I would be coming back to India. But you still want that scope to be there, that chance that if you one day change your mind, you want to go there, you want to study, you want to settle down out there or get a job out there, you want that chance to be there, to study abroad, to settle down abroad. I did not find that scope in UK. And besides that, why I chose Netherlands was, why I particularly chose Leiden was, as I already said, that it was cheaper than UK. Pursuing my master's in UK, it was almost 30% cheaper. And I felt, since I saw that the rankings, I had gotten through King's. I did not get through Oxford. I applied to Oxford and King's in the UK. I missed out on Cambridge and LSE deadlines. So I did not get through Oxford, but I got through King's. And in that very year when I was going to go for my master's, I saw that Leiden was placed above King's, and then for me, rankings do matter because you're spending a lot of money and you're going abroad, you're spending a lot of money. So when you do spend a lot of money, you should always choose the best of the best that you can get through, at least the top 20 universities in the world in your field. I'd always suggest that when QS and Times, they publish their the list of rankings, they publish there's one column where they publish a list of the university rankings, and then they also publish the rankings by the field, the specialization, the discipline, like legal, for law, for humanities, for science, which universities are the best. So do also look into that. So I looked into the law schools, and the top 20 law schools in the world, Leiden was there. And then I did a lot of research on Leiden. It was the oldest university. It was established in the 1500s, if I'm not wrong. And Albert Einstein used to teach in that college, despite I'm not from the science background, but he used to teach out there, and they have had a lot of famous alumni. It was a very nice university. Since it's my alma mater, I'll always be very, very proud about that fact, and I'll talk highly about my university. And so I won't stress much why I chose Netherlands. Apart from that, the application process. I'll tell you. I want to talk about the application process. So for Leiden, the deadlines were in 31st of March, and I happened to apply on one day before the deadline. Because Leiden, I saw Leiden. It was around 2 months before I was thinking about it, because when I started sending in my applications, and you start getting your acceptances and everything, and then you have to sit down and you think whether it's feasible for me, whether you have to take the decision collectively with your family. It's a huge financial burden on everyone, you and your family. So when I started getting my acceptances, I saw UK was not very value for money for me. Hence I applied for Netherlands too, and thankfully I got accepted. And the best part is, when you apply to Leiden, when I applied to many colleges, and when you apply to a college, you can apply only for one course in one application. You have to pay per application. Fees is for one course only. But the best thing about Leiden was they give you the option to apply for 3 courses in one application fee. In the same application, you can apply for 3 courses. You have to obviously submit your SOPs. You have to for each course, but for one application fee, you can apply for 3 courses at the same time. So that was very nice, and I had applied for 3 courses, and I got through all 3 of them. But human rights was my priority. It was my first option. And Leiden also has its own scholarship, which you all want to know. I'm definitely sure everyone wants to know about the scholarship. Leiden offers its own scholarship. It's called Lex S scholarship, and the deadline for it, and again I missed out on it because the deadline for the scholarship was prior to the application deadline. So the scholarship deadline ended 1 month before, prior to the application deadlines, which is with most of the universities. Almost 90% of the universities, do keep in mind, offer their own scholarships, apart from any scholarship that you might get from India, from some foundation, or from the government of those countries. Every university does have their own scholarship, which they give to students on various factors, mainly your academics and your extracurriculars. But yes, academics is one big factor in that, in getting the scholarship. So Leiden had its own scholarship, Lexus scholarship, and again, as I already told you, I missed the deadline for applying to that scholarship. Two of my classmates got scholarship. One of them had got full tuition fee waiver, and the other one, I guess, had got around 50 to 60% tuition fee waiver. It was pretty nice. So and the scholarship process is also like an application process. When you apply for a scholarship, be it in any university, so you'd have to again write an application for that. You have to write your SOP. You have to describe, you have to write why do you want to, why should they give you that scholarship. So that is another process. Do keep in mind it. Sometimes some universities automatically along with your application, they will decide if you deserve the scholarship or not. Some universities have a different process, in the sense another separate application process for applying for the scholarship. So do keep that in mind. And as I already said, the deadlines differ. It's always prior to the application deadlines. And if you are looking, if scholarship is a very important factor for you, so I suggest you to start your journey for applying and everything, in fact, like at least 1.5 years prior to you joining the university. And how do you go about the SOP? This is one question which I always get a lot. What should you write in your SOP? Do keep in mind that there are a lot of options. When I was writing my SOP, I looked at various samples online. You'll find a lot of plethora of examples online, on how an SOP should be written, guidelines. You'll find many examples, many sample SOPs. Do read them. Do see the guidelines. What should the first paragraph be, what should the second paragraph be. Read as many websites as you can. Do not read too many, 5-6 websites, 7-8 websites. Read around 6-7 samples of SOPs, and accordingly then you should note down, you should make down, you should write down the first paragraph is the introduction, what you should write. The second paragraph should contain this, the third should contain that, and so on and so forth. So do write it down, make notes, and then you start writing your SOP. And when you're writing your SOP, do not make it too personal. I would suggest do not make it too personal. Make it a mix of both, a personal and professional both. I mean, professional in the sense, if you're working, you put your professional experiences also out there. If you're studying, I mean, you can put your, if you have topped, if you are the topper in your batch, or you have done something, you have constantly been graded in so and so subject always, or you have won some medal, your CV is already there, which speaks about all your achievements. In your SOP, mention the top most achievements that you have, which you feel really proud about, which you feel like they should know, in case they did not read your CV, for example, they should see it in your SOP. So do not mention all your achievements in the SOP. Do not do that. Mention your top 2-3 achievements. Mention one extracurricular. For example, you're applying for a social work, master's in social work. So then and you had worked as part of some NGO or a group, and you had worked in some village, or you had done something, you had won an award, or the internship itself was very satisfying, so you can mention that. If you actually what work you did genuinely helped someone, you can mention that. If for example, if you're the topper in your batch, you can definitely mention that in your SOP. Do not make it too long. Every university has their own requirements about the length of the SOP and what they expect in the SOP. So do read that. Every university that you apply to, make sure you read the application requirements in detail. That is very, very necessary. Do not have like I'm going to prepare one SOP and I'm going to apply for all. I'm going to use that single SOP for all universities. Yeah, the main content will be the same, but you have to adjust it, accordingly adjust it, and make modifications according to the requirements of that university. So do read the requirements very carefully. And this is a long journey. I would like to tell you, it's a very long journey. If you really want to go abroad, and if you want to choose the right university, the right place, the right country, it takes time. I always thought I was going to UK, and it was in the last at the end moment, when I got accepted to Leiden, I decided that I'm going to Leiden. But before I decided, I looked at as many videos I could about Leiden as a city. It's a small university town, very sweet and small university town. It's very nice. And I looked at Netherlands as a country. I imagine myself. I suggest you should all do that. You should imagine yourself in that country, in that city. Like how will you feel? Like if you want to study in London, imagine yourself in London. We all know how the culture is in London. There's enough videos, the movies, everything that we watch. We kind of have an idea. You would have friends who have studied in London, in UK, in Europe. So do talk to them, ask them about their experiences, ask your concerns. We all might have different concerns. When you want to go abroad, want to study abroad, it's a big decision. So talk with your friends who have studied. If you're seniors, do talk with them. I contacted my seniors. I did not have anyone who studied in Netherlands, but I had my seniors who studied, my friends who studied in UK, in US, in Canada. So I spoke to them. I asked them about their experiences. I if it is worth going abroad. So you'll get different answers, and then accordingly you have to decide. But one common answer which I found, and I want to be very frank with you, it is especially in the law background, since I've studied Indian law, and then I'm going to pursue my masters in Netherlands. So I can't apply my Indian law. I will have the legal knowledge, the legal acumen, but I cannot apply it. I cannot apply the Indian penal code out there, for example. So I knew that the job prospects would be very less, and my main goal was that I wanted to gain exposure, gain more knowledge, experience a different culture, study in a different country. And my main priority was always coming back to India. So everyone has different priorities. So I knew that, didn't mind, so that before I went, I knew that, it would be very difficult for me to get a job. It's not like I did not look for jobs. I did look, but preference was always for EU students, European Union students. And secondly, I was getting internships, but there were most of them are unpaid internships. You'll find a lot of internships without a doubt, but most of them are unpaid internships. So I thought, I could not support myself for another year or so just doing an internship and without earning any money, and hence I thought it's best to come back to India. Secondly, another most important thing about studying in Netherlands is do keep in mind that there is a scarcity in accommodation. So there is this concept in Netherlands, we do not have like this hostels like which any other university has. When I talk about Leiden University, they have their student housing. They have tied up with a a housing agency, you can say. For example, if you take, for example, just take Magic Bricks, Magic Bricks or this Oyo student homes, so they have tied up with Oyo student homes, for example. I'm just giving an example. I'm not advertising Oyo out here. So they tied up with the housing agency, and the housing agency will allot you student apartments or shared apartments. Various options are there. You have shared accommodations, you have private accommodation where you will be staying in a studio apartment by your own. So those are the options, and this accommodation is very limited. So do keep in mind when you're applying, especially if you're applying to Leiden University or even in Amsterdam, any university in Amsterdam also for that matter. Do when you apply and when you get accepted, when you're sending your acceptance, do choose the university accommodation. They'll ask you, do you want help finding accommodation? So do tick that option, because trust me, it will be very difficult for you to find accommodation otherwise. You will find, but I have seen many of my friends, I'll tell you my own personal experience. I've seen many of my friends struggling to find accommodation, staying in doing couch surfing, staying in Airbnbs for a month or 2 months, and then finding some accommodation, but very far away from the university. So it is very difficult housing. Because what happened actually was because of the strict laws in UK, the job prospects in UK becoming less. Many students have now started going to Europe, looking at Europe, many countries in Europe, like in Netherlands, in Germany. Many students are doing them, going to Scandinavian countries too. So Europe has seen a sudden boost, now, when UK is anyways out of European Union now. So students have started looking at a lot of universities in the European Union, countries in the European Union, and that has resulted in shortage of accommodations for international students. I had asked many of my professors and the housing agencies, when I was out there, why, it's such a big university, you should have enough accommodation. But that is what they told me. It's there's this sudden boost in international students coming to Europe, and hence we are struggling to meet the demands basically. So what happened with me was, I'll just short, in 1 minute I'll try to tell you. So I had chosen the university accommodation, and so they gave various options. Do you want a shared accommodation, do you want things? So you have to choose 3. So I took a shared room with shared facilities, which is you'll be sharing your room with another student, and a common bathroom. Then the second option which I gave, was my second preference, was a single room with shared facilities. And the third option which I had to choose, so I chose a studio apartment, a single studio apartment. And it was my bad luck. I was allocated a studio apartment, which was very expensive, and I could not afford it. It was very expensive. And then I wrote back to them. I was like, can you please, I cannot afford it. They're like, we do not have any other option. It's either you take this or we cannot help you with anything else. So and that happened 1 month before I went to Netherlands. The confirmation about my housing came 1 month, and so I was not looking. I was like, I had already applied for university housing, so I was not looking for any private accommodation or anything. So 1 month before I went, this happened. And then it was a very stressful 1 month, you know, like you're supposed to be excited, like, you know, and that 1 month went in staying on Facebook. I joined there were like housing groups, you know, there were various housing group, Leiden student housing group. Like, you know, in Facebook I found, you know, I went like, you know, how to find, and I got in touch with students like, you know, Leiden University, and just like, you know, all permutations and combinations that you can type on Facebook. You know, I did that. I did not try Insta. I did not have an Insta account at that time. So I looked into Facebook. The university people themselves suggested me that you can look into, you know, in Facebook groups and all their various groups, you might find students looking for flats and accommodation together. I also took subscriptions to these housing agencies, you know, which didn't help, to be very honest, because whenever they have this concept called viewing, you know, they'll call you to see the house, and the owner also has to like you. It's not like, you know, you like the house, you're ready to pay. The owner also has to like you, and like, or the other flatmates also has to approve of you, you know, like before you get the house actually. So my whole month went in that. I was not lucky. I could not find anything. By God's grace, just the day before I went, I had applied, you know, I made a profile, and, you know, like I used to put posts in those groups like, you know, I'm so and so person from India, you know, I'm like a very tidy person, you know, as much as you can sell yourself. I did that. And then, you know, one landlord they had just bought a house, and they put up a post, and I wrote out there. Then I also wrote my story out there. I'm like, you know, I always stay alone, and, you know, if I'm given your house, I'll keep it neat and tidy. And I've stayed in I had studied in a hostel, you know, like for 10 years. So I also wrote about that. And, you know, I can manage, you know, and like I'm independent, and, you know, I won't be bothering anyone, no trouble for anyone and stuff. So the day before I went, she replied to my message, and she's like, when are you coming? I'm like, tomorrow is my flight. I'll reach at night. And she's like, okay, day after tomorrow, do come in. I'll give you my address, you can come and see the house. I was like, great, thank you ma'am, and, you know, like stuff like that. And then she's like, this is just a viewing, I'm not giving you the house, this is just a viewing, and then we'll decide. So after I reached the next day, I went, and, you know, thankfully she liked me and I got the house. But there were many friends I knew, many acquaintances, you know, who had a very difficult time. Even now I have many people like contacting me and asking me about accommodation, like people who have gone to Netherlands to study not in Leiden specifically, in other universities also. So they have asked me about, you know, like how to find accommodation. So always keep this in mind, that whenever you apply, when you get accepted, do accept the accommodation, do take the accommodation that you need help, you need student housing, you know, university housing, whatever it is, you know, and do not choose the expensive option if you have a chance, you know, because they will put you for that. And I hope, you know, this video has gone too long. I wouldn't want to take more of your time. So I hope whatever little I have said about studying in Netherlands, I hope it has helped you all, and I hope it benefits you. I'll share, if you want more of these videos, do comment below, and also tell us, you know, what universities you want us to review next. Do like this video if you have found it informational. If you have any queries, you can comment below, and I'll try to answer all of them. And do subscribe to our channel. It'll keep us motivated to keep making more videos for all of you. Until then, have fun, take care, and we'll catch up soon. Bye bye.